Coming up, first responders in Joplin do battle with a fire that led to the destruction of an abandoned building on 7th Street.
A much calmer start to the morning today compared to yesterday, but it's also going to be much warmer. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And attention drivers, crews in Pittsburgh begin work on the East Quincy Street reconstruction project.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m.
I'm Chris. Yeah, I cut you off. I'm Chris Warner. She's Tanya Bach, right? That is the right order.
That is right.
Okay, are we sure? It's very early in the morning.
You can say you're Chris and I can say I'm Tanya. It doesn't matter who goes first.
That's true. I could say I'm Tanya, though.
That might be awkward.
I could be. You never know. I mean, it's 5 a.m. It's hard to tell. I haven't had all my coffee yet. So something that's not too hard to tell, though, is it's pretty clear outside, pretty calm outside. You can see the full moon very easily out there. Even some fog in some low-lying areas. Right now in the city of Joplin, it is 62 degrees, so it's considerably cooler than it was yesterday. I noticed that as soon as I walked out the door this morning. I'm like, boy, it feels nice. Look at the rest of the area. Most of us sitting in those lower 60s. It is an absolutely gorgeous start to the day. So if that's how the day is starting, I wonder what the rest of the day looks like. We'll break it down a little bit later.
Oh, that's a good tease.
You gotta stick around for a few more minutes. We'll tell you how the rest of the day is going to be.
We'll let you have that cup of coffee first. And
I'm going to have a little bit more, just a little bit more.
A little more. I haven't had mine yet either.
I don't know how you function. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you've been doing this for what, 14 years? I don't know how you do it. I've been doing it for 3 weeks, and it is so hard every morning when that alarm goes off to roll out of bed. I woke up this morning, I'm like, really? It's already time, huh? So, yeah.
I bet it is. But to your defense, you are switching back and forth and doing evenings on the weekends, too.
That's true. That's true. You know, thankfully, I've still got enough energy in me to bounce around a little bit. But as I get older, I'm not going to be able to pull this off. One way or another, something's going to get overslept on. So
You're always young. You're only as young as you feel.
What?
I always say that and then I laugh and I'm like, you're as young as you feel. And I'm like, so then I'm 110.
That's not very young.
No.
But on the other hand, we've had plenty of folks who live to be into their hundreds and they're still going strong. So maybe 100's the new young.
There you go.
That's how it's going to be. Might be.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned on at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. and you'll remember we brought it to you first here on KOAM. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. Some Pittsburgh drivers may need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. On Tuesday, the city of Pittsburgh began its East Quincy Street reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will permanently close East Quincy Street from Franklin Road to Taylor Street. Traffic on East Quincy between Franklin Road and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. An influential political action committee that's helped elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation reveals state campaign finance rule violations. Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. As part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledge accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Those came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or candidate committee, both state ethic rules violations. Some Oklahoma school districts have begun enforcing a new law that requires students to submit a biological sex affidavit to participate in school sports. In Northeast Oklahoma, schools are getting the word out to their communities, but have received some conflicting opinions from the public.
There was a separation of church and state for a reason. Their views have no business in our school system. Their view of the choice that these kids have made. And it's not a choice. These kids are born this way.
You can find a link for more information on the law at KOAMnewsnow.com. Coming up in our 6 o'clock hour, we'll hear from the superintendent of Grove Public Schools on how they plan to navigate the law in the upcoming school year. Well, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack held its 7th public hearing on Tuesday. Lawmakers examined whether former President Donald Trump helped mobilize extremist groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers that day. Skylar Henry reports.
The latest public hearing into the January 6th assault on the Capitol led to new questions of possible witness tampering by former President Donald Trump.
President Trump tried to call a witness in our investigation. That person declined to answer or respond to President Trump's call and instead alerted their lawyer to the call.
On Tuesday, the committee heard from former White House counsel Pat Cipollone for the first time in clips from his private deposition last week.
If your question is, did I believe he should concede the election at a point in time, yes, I did.
Cipollone detailed a contentious meeting in the Oval Office, focusing on seizing voting machines in battleground states.
It's a terrible idea.
Far-right groups and conspiracy theorists immediately latched on to a tweet by then-President Trump on December 19th, summoning supporters to the Capitol.
Trump's purpose was to mobilize a crowd. And how do you mobilize a crowd in 2020? With millions of followers on Twitter.
House committee members say President Trump lit the flame, igniting the January 6th riot, galvanizing radical groups who showed up that day with body armor, bear spray, and even bats. Former Oath Keepers spokesperson Jason Van Tatenhove addressed the committee.
This could have been the spark that started a new civil war, and no one would have won there.
As did a rioter, Stephen Ayers, who pleaded guilty to illegally entering the Capitol.
The president got everybody riled up, told everybody head on down. So we basically were just following what he said.
Court documents show Ayers suggested civil war will ensue if former President Trump didn't remain in the White House. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The call that Vice Chair Liz Cheney mentioned has been referred to the Justice Department.
So I told you we'd take a look at, the rest of the day. So quick recap, we're all sitting in the lower 60s. It is a beautiful morning as we start this Wednesday, but it's going to heat up quickly. Look at all those sunshines. That's because it's going to be pretty darn sunny today. Heading for an afternoon high in the lower 90s with a light northeast breeze. That breeze becomes pretty much calm as we head into the overnight. Then we get back into the lower 70s to upper 60s for overnight lows. A quick look at that future track shows nothing. Look at how clear it is. It's very clear. It's going to remain that way because we're on a warming trend, which the 7-day forecast is happy to point out to us. It's way too happy, I think, to point this out to us. As we mentioned yesterday, though, as the temperatures go up, we're going to be pushing highs at or right around 100 degrees by the weekend, but we also have increasing storm chances that we'll be watching. So even though it may get super hot, we may have a little break here or there with a pocket of rain during the day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to be hot and miserable, and it might be a day where you just want to stay inside, find something cool to do indoors.
Just sitting inside in the air conditioning is pretty cool.
Yeah, cool for anybody.
We're pretty cool, though.
Yeah, we are.
Better believe it.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, more than 50 players showed up for a high school prospect camp hosted by PSU. Were there any future gorillas in the midst? We'll find out.
Plus, a federal court judge rules that bystanders can record police activity in the field. We want to know what you think. That's going to be our morning talker.
And drug-resistant infections and deaths grew during the pandemic, but the CDC is looking at ways to fight back. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
The Joplin Outlaws hit the field for the first time since the Mink League All-Star break. The Outlaws host 2 games against the Chillicothe Mudcats, finishing a suspended game before playing their regularly scheduled game. Joplin won the first one 17-7. So game 2, the Outlaws try to stay rolling, and they do. Final of 8-6. Carl Junction's own Carson Johnson with the go-ahead RBI single to slam the door on the Mudcats and complete the doubleheader sweep. Pitt State Baseball hosted a high school prospect camp at Ortolani Field. More than 50 players showed up to show what they can do and get evaluated by local college coaches.
Bounce around. We're watching every little thing we do. Let's start out really good. Let's keep it rolling.
We got a great group out here today. We're going to put them through a pro-style workout this morning, then come back out and play some games.
I really would like to go to the next level and play. I really just want to try to, get my name out and try to show these coaches what I can do and hopefully maybe get in contact with some guys. So,
howdy, baby.
I just came out here to show my abilities to play baseball and look for a spot for me to play at the next level. Oh, it would mean a lot. I mean, that's my dream since I was, 5 maybe. So it'd be awesome to play at the next level.
As long as you didn't hit the pitcher, he's out.
It's a huge recruiting tool. Not only are we recruiting, we have Butler County, Labette, and Coffeyville here today. So we got other schools here. We're getting to see our whole staff is here. Their staffs are here, and they're getting in front of a lot of people today to hopefully make themselves better and get themselves looks. They'll get a full form evaluation of all their readings and what we think of them as a hitter, think maybe something they can improve on.
If I'm thinking about messing up, I'm probably going to mess up more than I need to. Okay, just relax, have fun. Hi, boy, Colt.
I've been hurt lately, so it's an opportunity to show them what I can actually do because I've been hurt and haven't been able to show my coaches or anybody around what I can actually do.
Throw a strike. Baby.
I miss baseball. I haven't seen my guys for a month and a half.
The players aren't here. I get a little rusty at this stuff. Miss them.
It's good for us to get out and meet these guys and get to know them. Even if they don't show up at Pitt State right off the bat, they might go to a junior college and we'll be recruiting them again. And we save our notes. We kind of know who they are and just the personalities. When we go to games, we're going to know who they are. They're going to know who.
To the majors, the St. Louis Cardinals open a 4-game series against the Dodgers. The Cards have just 6 games remaining until the All-Star break. They're looking for their 3rd straight win. Last night, St. Louis wins it 7-6. Albert Pujols solo home run and drew the walk-in. What could be his final home plate appearance at Busch Stadium. Then in the American League, Kansas City Royals have a chance for their first 4-game winning streak of the season. They're at home for Game 3 of a 4-game series against the Tigers. The Royals fall 7-5. Apparently Miguel Cabrera can do it all as he had a stolen base on the night. The steal helped trigger a 4-run inning. Well, still to come, the people of Japan pay their final respects to former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Plus, we got to check out that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. It's going to be much warmer today, despite the fact that it's much cooler this morning. Skywatch Storm Tracker, I've got absolutely nothing to show you, so why don't I give you something to look at? It's the current conditions in Joplin. 62 is where we sit with a light east-northeast breeze, and 62 is what it feels like. On the way in, some of the rural areas on the way here, some low-lying fog because of the rain we got and the fact that, kind of cooled off. All of us are sitting in the lower to almost mid-60s now as we slowly start to warm up through the day. So let's see, this is the tease. Let's see how temperatures are going to do today. We're going to warm up into the lower 90s, despite how cool it is today, because we're going to have ample sunshine as we head through the day, and we're going to have a nice light northeast breeze at 5 to 10. That breeze calms down overnight, get back into the lower 70s to upper 60s. A quick look at the 7-day forecast. Why don't we? We're going to continue this warming trend. 96 tomorrow, 98 on Friday, 100 by Saturday. But as you can see, we also have some slightly increasing thunderstorm chances across the area, and then it'll cool off just a bit before it heats up once again as we head into the upcoming week. So summer gave us a little bit of a break yesterday and today, but summer's not let go just yet. Well, a court of appeals has ruled that the First Amendment gives bystanders the right to record law enforcement while out in the field working. KOAM's Jalen Banks catches up with some people this new ruling directly impacts.
The 10th Circuit Court that oversees both Oklahoma and Kansas assures that people have the First Amendment right to record law enforcement while they are working. This is in light of an incident where a suburban Colorado officer kept a bystander from recording a traffic stop.
To me, a lot of those interactions where an officer is either blocking that or they make an arrest like that, a lot of times to me that's the officer not being educated on or trained on how to handle that situation. So, the officers, if they're trained properly and they know, like I said, it's okay to record.
His only message to the public is to be courteous and keep what he describes as a safe distance.
You know, if somebody's across the street and they want a video and stuff like that, as long as you're not interacting and causing issues and distracting the officer while you're doing that, it's not going to be an issue. If you are getting in the middle of something and causing problems, then the deputy's probably going to address you and ask you, hey, can you step away and get to a safe distance.
An area journalist finds comfort in knowing his rights are protected.
It's nice to have that judicial backing, to know that if something happens, I am backed by the judicial courts and the First Amendment rights. So that way I have a fallback if something goes south. If you get that one cop that wants to just push it further and say no, well, they've got to fight the judicial court and my First Amendment rights.
Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
For more on this story, you can go to our website, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. And now we get to our morning talker. Our question to you: should people have the right to record police activities? You can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. You can also do so in the KOAM News Now app. And of course, we invite you to participate in the discussion at facebook.com/KOAM Fox 14. That is where you can find our Facebook page. We're going to be right back with Health Watch after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, drug-resistant infections and deaths have grown since the COVID-19 pandemic. CDC report found that the number of people who died from antimicrobial resistant infections in 2020 was up 15%. And nearly 40% of those deaths were among people who got infected in the hospital. And some of the reasons why could be hospitals were treating more and sicker patients, staffing shortages, limited personal protective equipment, and patients that required longer stays and longer use of medical devices such as catheters and ventilators. That all created challenges in following established infection prevention and control guidance. More men take action in response to the end of Roe v. Wade by turning to vasectomies. The number of Google searches for the word vasectomy peaked just one day after the Supreme Court rulings last month. Now doctors say more patients are asking for the procedure. Manuel Bajorquez has more.
I just want to get a feel for why you feel so confident that you're going to be happy with your vasectomy decision indefinitely.
From his office near Tampa, urologist Doug Stein calls patients who are under 30 or do not have children to discuss whether they are 100% sure they want a vasectomy, a call he's now making more often.
We generally see about 12% in our practice men who are child-free. And then we generally see about 12% of men who are under the age of 30. But the number of both young and child-free nearly doubled.
The two-doctor practice performs 6 vasectomies an hour most days.
Some decisions not just made by men, but by families.
50% of our calls are from women.
I just need you to print, sign, and date it.
27-year-old Thomas Figueroa says he and his girlfriend do not want children, so getting a vasectomy was always on his mind.
I've always thought about this decision. The Supreme Court did push me to finally do it.
The procedure, which blocks sperm from entering semen, is outpatient and takes about 10 minutes with about a 2-day recovery, as opposed to a female tubal ligation, which is riskier and much more invasive. For Figueroa, this is also about easing the burden on women who have had their constitutional right to abortion taken away, and for those who feel restrictions on birth control could come next.
I feel for a lot of men, especially for myself, that this is a way where they're trying to protect their girlfriends, they're trying to protect their partners, they're trying to protect their future partners.
In Houston, Jordan Castro's post about getting a vasectomy went viral. He did it last fall after Texas passed a law banning abortion after about 6 weeks of fertilization.
Really try to put yourself in a woman's shoes. I really think guys should take that into account and just take a little bit more responsibility.
And while vasectomies are reversible, not all reversals are successful.
All right, very good. Do you have any pain?
That's something Dr. Stein stresses to his growing number of patients.
And do you see this as a trend that will continue or just kind of a spike?
I think that maybe where the spike is over and we're tapering down a little bit, but I think we haven't tapered back down to pre-Roe overturn numbers.
In fact, Dr. Stein says they are booked through August, which is as far in advance as they've been booked before.
Manuel Bajorquez, CBS News, Miami Shores, Florida.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Skywatch storm tracker showing us absolutely nothing out there. So let's take a look at temperatures in Joplin. We are sitting in the lower 60s, 62 to be exact, and that's kind of how it is across the board. We've got a few pushing the mid to even upper 60s, and that's going to be the trend as we get through the day because temperatures are going to continue to rise, heading for afternoon highs in the lower 90s under a nice northeast breeze. That wind calms down. Overnight lows dipping off into the upper 60s for most of us. Well, a complete look at that forecast and more news when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, first responders in Joplin do battle with a fire that led to the destruction of an abandoned building on 7th Street.
A much quieter look at the Skywatch storm tracker this morning, and we've got a warmer day ahead, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And attention drivers, crews in Pittsburgh begin work on the East Quincy Street reconstruction project.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, and it is a very pleasant start to the day today. I mean, did you notice how crisp the air smelled?
You know, the big thing I noticed coming in was the moon.
Yes, I walked outside this
big
morning.
And full, yeah.
And I was like, did I oversleep? Because it almost seems like the sun's about to come up. No, we just have a nice full moon, and with no clouds in the sky, it's putting off quite a bit of early morning light.
Yes, it is.
Skywatch storm tracker showing you those clear skies. Look at that. Nothing to look at. Temperatures across the area in Joplin, we are sitting at 62 degrees this fine morning. It is a beautiful start to the day, and it's hard to believe what's going to happen a little bit later. We're actually about 30 degrees away from our ultimate high. Most of us sitting in the lower 60s. We've got some even mid to upper 60s off to the south and east. Temperatures are going to warm through the day. We're looking at an afternoon high of about 92 degrees under mostly sunny skies. We've got a light northeast breeze. That breeze becomes calm as we head into the overnight hours. We're going to dip off into the lower 70s and upper 60s. And a quick look at that 7-day forecast does show a warming trend. Summer has not given up on us yet. She just gave us a little bit of a break before we start to push highs around 100 with some increasing storm chances as we head into the weekend. So summer's back, but we're getting a nice little pause, and you might as well take advantage of it while you can.
All right, well, I can't really say that I'm looking forward to warmer temperatures, but you gotta get through those before you can get to fall. So it's too early for fall.
I prefer warmer weather, not 100-degree weather, mind you, but I prefer warmer weather. So
I'd be comfortable with like 80s in the high for the summer, though.
I'm good with that too.
Nice.
That's a good round number. I like that one.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned on at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. Well, some Pittsburgh drivers may need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. On Tuesday, the city of Pittsburgh began its East Quincy Street reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will permanently close East Quincy Street from Franklin Road to Taylor Street. Traffic on East Quincy between Franklin Road and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. An influential political action committee that's helped elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation reveals state campaign finance rules violations. And the Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. As part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledge accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Now, these came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or a candidate committee, both state ethics rules violations. The notorious Pittsburgh parking lot pole is sold. Countless drivers in the Walmart parking lot have wrecked their vehicles by hitting the pole. The sturdy pole has even gained a following on Facebook. Recently, the pole was sold to a local business owner who's wanting to keep a piece of Pittsburgh history.
It's in the front of my shop right now. We're going to keep it here for a couple months. I'm speaking with some other business owners in Pittsburgh. It is from Pittsburgh, so I feel it should be there. And I think we're working out to where it's going to go from business to business, kind of a traveling pole kind of thing.
Walmart is donating the profit from auctioning the pole to the Children's Miracle Network. Coming up when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, our very own Amber Jenkins has more on this story. I am a member of the group that would, I don't know, we would just watch videos of people hitting.
Oh, I know. I mean, that was such a phenomenon.
It was so fun. Like, I'm sorry for the poor souls who ran into the pole, but like, man, it was like a magnet for some vehicles.
It certainly was. And I mean, I remember it was kind of the pandemic entertainment, lockdown entertainment was just people continuously hitting that pole.
I've driven through that parking lot so many times and around that pole so many times. I just don't understand how easily it was hit by so many people. Like,
right. I mean, I've seen poles in parking lots get hit before, but not, I mean, just repeatedly the same one over and over to. But what I love is how, you know, Walmart was a good sport about the whole thing. And then they ended up auctioning it off to raise money for charity. I mean, you don't see a lot of big corporations that are going to admit to the fact that, hey, this pole sucks.
So eventually Walmart took down this pole.
Right.
Because, you know, it couldn't stand anymore.
Yeah.
It had been hit way too many times. So the Facebook group that followed all of its interactions was like, well, what do we do now? There's no pole. So they kind of migrated to encompass things of the shopping carts getting damaged or the shopping carts getting taken to different locations and stuff and highlighting those things too. But yeah.
Yeah, that poor pole. But hey, it's going to have a great home. It's going to be a traveling exhibit, and it's got to be the first of its kind. I mean, that's something, that's what we need to contact CBS about, something about that.
I've been talking with Jay. I think my business might play host to the pole.
It should.
We would love to.
It should.
We would love to have the Pittsburgh pole.
I think it'd be a great addition.
Moving along, though.
Yeah.
A federal judge affirms the right to record video of law enforcement, and we want to know what you think. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals that oversees Kansas and Oklahoma ruled it is well within our First Amendment right to record police officers while they are in the field working. This is in response to a 2019 case where a YouTube blogger claimed a Denver suburb police officer kept him from recording a traffic stop.
To me, a lot of those interactions where an officer is either blocking that or they make an arrest like that, a lot of times to me that's the officer not being educated on or trained on how to handle that situation. So, you know, the officers, if they're trained properly and they know, like I said, it's okay to record.
For more on this story and the ruling, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. But we want to know what you think.
Yeah, should people have the right to record police activity? So here's the deal. You're voting right now, which, by the way, you can do KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do it in the KOAM News Now app. Participate in discussion on our Facebook page. But quick look at those results. 89% of you say yes, and 11% say no. So don't forget, those are your options to vote and participate. Make sure that you do so this morning.
There you go. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, The Boss kicks off a brand new tour and Ashanti releases a children's book. We've got your entertainment news on the way.
Plus, experts put a dollar amount on the economic harm caused by the nations they say are the most responsible. Who are they and how much is the cost? We'll let you know.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, the people of Japan paid their final respects to former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe 4 days after his assassination. Family and close friends attended his private funeral at a temple in Tokyo, while well-wishers laid flowers outside. Following the service, crowds lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the hearse carrying former Prime Minister Abe's body to be cremated. This summer is already proving to be a hot one, not only here at home, but around the world. And some places are experiencing record heat, while others are coping with historic rainfall. Ian Lee reports.
It's in the summer when Mother Nature really lets loose by breaking records. A heat wave is cooking much of Europe, where many feel
But moving around in the sun like it is too hot to do anything.
British officials are warning this Sunday could be the UK's hottest day ever recorded, with temperatures hitting 110. And that's the cool part of the continent. In Spain, people try to beat the heat, with temperatures already reaching 115 degrees. The warm weather is fueling wildfires across the continent, from Portugal to Italy. The writing is, well, on the field, as the country struggles with its worst drought in 70 years. Underpinning why experts say climate change is hurting our ability to feed the world.
South America has had a variety of weather conditions that have limited their ability to produce grains, and they're a major grain exporter as well.
While it's hot and dry here in Europe, even London has no rain in its forecast. Other parts of the world are dealing with too much water. Sydney is now cleaning up after the worst flooding in a century. More than 60,000 people fled their homes across eastern Australia.
The landscape is absolutely saturated. The creeks and rivers are still incredibly swollen.
Some areas of southern China are also suffering the worst flooding in 100 years. Chinese officials warn the country should brace for more extreme wet weather in the coming months. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
The heat wave in Europe could be so bad that the UK government is preparing for a national heat wave emergency. That's declared when it's so hot, illness and death may occur even among fit and healthy people. Well, researchers have put actual dollar figures on economic harm caused by nations who they say are most responsible for the climate crises. The Dartmouth College study found 5 of the world's top emitters of planet-warming gases caused about $6 trillion loss in gross domestic product from 1990 to 2014. That's adjusted for 2010 dollars and equals about 11% of total global GDP. The study also shows the 2 biggest contributors to the climate crisis, the U.S. and China, individually causing global economic losses of more than $1.8 trillion each during the same period. The groundbreaking data could serve as a starting point for legal action by developing nations against the world's wealthiest countries. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Some Pittsburgh drivers may need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. On Tuesday, the city of Pittsburgh began its East Quincy Street reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will permanently close East Quincy Street from Franklin Road to Taylor Street. Traffic on East Quincy between Franklin and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. Smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. Some Oklahoma school districts have begun enforcing a new law that requires students to submit a biological sex affidavit to participate in school sports. The Northeast Oklahoma schools are getting the word out to their communities, but have received some conflicting opinions from the public. And an influential political action committee that's helped elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation reveals state campaign finance rule violations. The Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. As part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledged accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Those came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or candidate committee, both state ethics rules violations. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Skywatch Storm Tracker considerably more quiet this morning than it was yesterday morning. As such, it's also considerably cooler for all of us this morning. In Joplin, we are sitting at 62 degrees, and it feels like 62, but these temperatures that we're seeing across the areas, most of us are sitting in the lower to mid 60s. we're about 30 degrees off from where it's actually going to be today. So let's take a look at where it is going to be today. Heading for highs in the upper 80s to lower 90s for most of us, with a nice light northeast breeze under sunny skies. Clear skies remain in place as we head into the overnight. We're going to dip back through the lower 70s to upper 60s with a slightly more calm wind. Not like it's going to be crazy today. In the future track, to a quick look, you can see there's absolutely nothing out there, and those future heat index values are not going to be necessarily extreme, but they're going to get up there. And then a quick look at the 7-day forecast shows summer is not over yet. Warming trend heading into the weekend, highs pushing 100, but you can also see we have some increasing storm chances. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
The boss will be hitting the road with some familiar faces, and Ashanti releases her first children's book.
Here's Rick Damigella with the Hollywood Minute.
Well, I got this guitar and I learned how to make it talk.
Bruce Springsteen is heading back on the road. The legendary rocker announced a 2023 tour with his E Street Band. This marks the first time Springsteen and the group have played in concert together since 2017. The tour kicks off February 1st in Tampa, Florida.
Am I your girlfriend now?
Do you want to be? The new drama Where the Crawdads Sing features a number of underwater sequences, but star Daisy Edgar-Jones says filming an important wet kiss was anything but romantic.
We would sort of go underwater, your legs would be splayed out, and then like obviously when you kiss, like you're opening your mouth, so then both of our mouth and nose would be flooded with this water, and then you'd come up and just exchange water between each other's mouths.
Ashanti has released her first children's book. Titled My Name is a Story, the singer explains what she hopes readers take away from the inspiring tale.
I wanted to do something that was uplifting and encouraging and empowering for kids that have unique names to just feel great about them, you know, and be excited.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
My Name is a Story is now available.
And Where the Crawdads Sing opens this Friday, and that underwater kissing scene does seem really difficult to pull off.
I just hope the water's clean. I don't know if I would want to partake in an underwater kissing scene, say at like Grand Lake.
Yeah, I can't. I've gone over this before. I can't swim, so I wouldn't want to participate in an underwater anything because that kiss would turn into CPR. Because
yeah, that's what I was going to say. As soon as they got you out of the water, they would be performing different kind of kissing on you.
Yeah, exactly.
It may not be who you want to kiss you.
That's true too.
All right, a beloved book has made its way to the big screen.
Yeah, Leslie Stanford has details on Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Nothing wrong with dreaming, Ada. That's what you are. You're a dreamer.
Indeed she is, and Ada has a big dream and Mrs. Harris goes to Paris. You see, she's fallen in love and the object of her affection is...
a Christian Dior from Paris.
The only problem, Mrs. Harris is a house cleaner and not the kind of client the famed design house is accustomed to.
No, hang on a minute. I've saved every penny scrubbing floors so I can buy this frock.
Oscar nominee Leslie Manville stars as the woman who dares to go after what she wants and helps others to as well.
She wants this dress for all of these kind of purely romantic, visual, glamorous reasons, and I think that's why the film is going to appeal to people.
Joining her in this crusade is Lucas Bravo, who plays the dressmaker's accountant, Andre. The French actor says he drew on his childhood experience as an introvert to get into character.
I just played the same notes, and for me it felt very therapeutic and organic.
Director Anthony Fabian hopes audiences will appreciate the heart of the film.
There's something so wonderfully kind and authentic about her. And it's rare to see that in the cinema.
I have never encountered anyone like you.
In Hollywood, I'm Alicia Stanford.
Sounds like a lot of people can relate to her character. Mrs.
Oh,
Harris Goes to Paris opens in theaters Friday, July 15th.
All right, we're going to be right back with another look at the forecast. Skywatch Storm Tracker not showing us anything to track this morning. Of course, you remember yesterday morning, we had quite a bit to track because we got some rain, and it was much needed rain. However, Joplin, downtown, 63 degrees. It's warmed up a degree since earlier, but it's going to warm up a lot more as the morning goes on. Temperatures across the metro sitting in mostly the lower 60s, and that's where we all are, is lower to mid-60s with some upper 60s like Cassville, Monette, starting to warm up a little faster. And we're all going to warm up as we head through the day. So let's take a look at the day. It's sunny skies, Going to be nice, light northeast breeze, and we're going to push highs into the upper 80s to lower 90s as the day progresses. And as we head into the overnight, the breeze, which isn't going to be a lot as it is going to be pretty calm overnight. And then clear skies continue, temperatures dropping off into the lower 70s to upper 60s across the board. Quick look at the future track is simply to show you that there's really nothing immediately on the future track for the next couple of days, and temperatures will continue to warm. So quick look at future heat index values. Even today, it could be a little bit muggy, but come tomorrow, heat index values pushing about 100 degrees. And the same thing as we head into Friday as well. We're going to be pushing 100 degrees again. And a look at that 7-day forecast, there it is. We're looking at it. So let's go over it very quickly. We're going to continue to warm up because summer not done with us at all. Highs pushing about 100 degrees by Saturday, but as we warm up, thunderstorm chances increase as well. So that's something that we'll have to watch as we head into the weekend. But again, decent overnight lows, just got to get through some pretty hot days to get to them. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Coming up, a girl critically injured at a theme park passes away.
We are heading for another warm day and a warm week. We'll break it all down in detail from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And some Oklahoma schools start enforcing a new law but receive conflicting opinions from the public.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. You know, it was nice. I walked out the door this morning and the air was so fresh, it was so crisp, it was so clean. It was just absolutely pleasant, and it's still pleasant, at least for now.
The AC was on in my car. I had to turn it off.
See, I had mine off for most of the drive, but then it started to get just a touch warm, so I had it on like its lowest setting. I mean, you know, just barely, just enough to circulate some cooler air into the vehicle. So, you know, it was a nice morning commute. Even saw some, you know, low level fog.
There you go.
Just kind of drifting across the road. A beautiful start to the day. It's a beautiful start to what's going to end up being a warm day. Quick look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Shows us nothing to track. Right now in Joplin, we are sitting at 63 degrees, and most of us across the area are sitting in the lower to mid 60s as we start this day. Temperatures, we're about 30 degrees off, though, from where we're ultimately going to end up. Sunny skies will make it up to upper 80s, lower 90s. Overnight tonight, continuing clear skies. A calm breeze means it's going to get down to the lower 70s and upper 60s, but summer still has a grip on us. Unfortunately, temperatures are going to stay pretty darn warm. And we'll talk more about what that, you know, extended forecast looks like. I just got to remind folks, because as cool or even as chilly as it is this morning, it is still summer. It's the middle of July. So it's not going to stay pleasant forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. We haven't even got into what they call the dog days of summer yet.
No,
so.
Those are still a couple weeks out, but they'll be here.
Still coming. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. Well, a young girl who was critically injured in a pool at Oceans of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri, has died. According to a statement from the park's spokesperson, a lifeguard had responded to a young female guest in distress in the Coconut Cove pool. Lifeguard was able to pull her out of the water, and the park's EMS workers administered CPR. Kansas City Fire Department arrived to continue caring for her and take her to a local hospital. Law enforcement says the girl was younger than 10 years old. An influential political action committee that's helped elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation revealed state campaign finance rule violations. Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. As part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledge accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Those came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or candidate committee, both state ethics rules violations. Well, some Pittsburgh drivers may need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. On Tuesday, the city of Pittsburgh began its East Quincy Street reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will permanently close East Quincy Street from Franklin Road to Taylor Street. Traffic on East Quincy between Franklin Road and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. Well, if you're a teacher looking to work with children with disabilities, now may be your chance. Thanks to a new certification path in the state of Missouri, Joplin School District is now looking for a broader range of applicants for paraprofessionals. Previous certification required 60 hours of online schooling to become certified, but now the certification requires only 20 hours of online training.
I would really like for people to know that being a paraprofessional is a really rewarding job. You get to be on the front lines of supporting students and seeing the growth day to day that they have in their educational journey, and you know every day when you go home that you had an impact in the life of a student.
School district is seeking to hire 31 paraprofessionals for the upcoming school year. A local organization is making sure Pittsburgh residents are registered to vote ahead of next month's elections. Tuesday was the last day to register in Kansas, so the Women's Alliance for Voter Education was at Root Coffee House and helping people register and update their information.
There's a lot of peer-to-peer registration I'm seeing, especially in this election. Friends are telling friends, please vote, and this is why I'm passionate about it. So, like I said, we're into just educating and helping everybody.
Voters in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma will head to the polls August 2nd. Some Oklahoma school districts have begun enforcing a new law that requires students to submit a biological sex affidavit to participate in school sports. In Northeast Oklahoma, schools are getting the word out to their communities, but have received some conflicting opinions from the public.
There was a separation of church and state for a reason. Their views have no business in our school system. Their view of the choice that these kids have made. And it's not a choice. These kids are born this way.
You can find a link for more information on the law at KOAMnewsnow.com. And later in the show, we'll hear from the superintendent of Grove Public Schools on how they plan to navigate the law in the upcoming school year. Well, today, back in 1955, Great Britain hangs a woman for murder for the last time. Nightclub owner Ruth Ellis is convicted of murdering her boyfriend, David Blakely. Ellis was later executed by hanging and became the last woman in Great Britain to be put to death. Born in Wales, Ellis left school as a young teenager, had a child, worked a variety of jobs, and eventually became a nightclub hostess. She married dentist George Ellis, whom she had a second child with. Marriage was short-lived, and Ellis returned to working in nightclubs. She became involved with a tumultuous relationship with David Blakely, a Playboy race car driver. Ellis became pregnant but miscarried several days after a fight during which Blakely hit her in the stomach. Ellis later became obsessed with Blakely when he failed to come see her as promised, and on April 10th, 1955, she shot him to death outside a pub. Took the jury less than half an hour to find Ellis guilty. She automatically received the death penalty. 1965, the death penalty was banned in England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland outlawed capital punishment in 1973. However, several crimes, including treason, remain punishable by death in Great Britain until 1998.
It's interesting, the last part there about treason, because we just celebrated our Happy Treason Day just a couple weeks ago.
That must have been on one of the days I was on vacation.
4th of July.
Yeah.
Treason Day.
Oh, okay. Very true. Well, and there are a few countries that have royal families too, so if that's what they're specifically talking about, committing treason.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
It doesn't really surprise me that Great Britain would still have that law up until, what, 24 years ago?
Yeah. So up until, 98? So I was 11 when they still had treason laws. And they were still hanging people for a while, which that's surprising how long that actually went on, that death by hanging was still a thing in Great Britain. I mean,
right.
It's like having death by guillotine still around into the 20th century. It's just Something you think of the old days.
I think if Ellis's story was something that had happened, you know, in the 21st century, it probably would have had a different outcome.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, of course, you know,
there would have
got
been a lot more women's rights involved, and
true. That's true. That's very true. So, and there's just been a lot of changes overall since that time. But imagine if those changes hadn't taken place and they still had hangings in the 21st century.
Wow.
It's an interesting thought. I'm one of those what if guys. Like, what if the Titanic didn't sink? Would we really care about it as much as we do now?
If it didn't sink,
yeah,
we wouldn't care at all about it. It would have been the biggest ship to make that trek, though.
Yeah, but we wouldn't, you know, it would not be as historically interesting. A lot of what ifs. I'm a what if kind of guy. So, what if it warmed up very quickly? That's what's going to happen. The weather's committing some treason. Quick look at the future track shows that we are going to warm into the lower 90s for highs today for most of us, and then we're going to continue that warming trend. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast while we got a second. It turns out that second ran out, but it's going to be hot. See, take a look at that, 100 by Saturday, so summer's still here.
That's all right. Mother Nature was hanging you out to dry. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the K-State Extension Office stops by to tell us about food education programs.
Plus, a media outlet leaks video footage of the Uvalde's police response, including them just hanging out in the hallways.
And how anxiety can be passed on to your children. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
This morning, local media in Texas released surveillance video that shows law enforcement in Uvalde waiting more than an hour to take action after a gunman entered the elementary school, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. Police officers wearing body armor are seen waiting in the hallway during the massacre. The video doesn't show the violence and has been edited to remove the sounds of children screaming, but viewers should be cautioned. The footage is still very disturbing and difficult to watch. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
Leaked surveillance video of the Robb Elementary mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, is bringing more anguish and renewed questions about the police response.
Whoever leaked that video, I pray that you never have to deal with what all the parents, the grandparents, the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins are dealing with.
The video, obtained by the Austin American-Statesman, shows the gunman armed with an AR-15 style weapon entering the school. He walks down a hallway. As a young boy appears around the corner, the gunman opens fire into a classroom for some 2.5 minutes. Police officers enter the building moments later and approach the classroom, but they don't enter and move back when more gunfire is heard. More than an hour after the gunman entered the school, officers finally break into the classroom and kill the 18-year-old gunman. Victims' families were supposed to see the video before it was released publicly. Uvalde City Council members say the gunman's movements and gunfire were not going to be included.
They didn't need to see the gunman coming in and hear the gunshots. They don't need to relive that.
Residents at last night's Uvalde Council meeting say the video, while difficult to watch, brings some much-needed transparency.
You can't dispute what's on video, and at that point, then you can go after the people that dropped the ball.
Investigators are preparing a report detailing the police response, with preliminary findings expected Sunday. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Some Uvalde victim family members are attending a Washington, D.C. rally today to call for stricter gun control laws and an assault weapon ban. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's time for another Wildcat Wednesday on the KOAM Morning News. And this morning, we're going to be talking about nutrition and a program the K-State Extension Service has in our area. Joining me this morning, we have Catherine Pinto and Carissa Winkle. Thank you so much. This is the first time having you guys on our morning show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Okay, so you two are both fairly new to the Extension Service. I think you just told me you'd been here for, with them a little over a year. Yep. So what do you guys do in the SNAP Ed program?
Yeah, so my title is SNAP Ed and FNEP agent, which means it's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
And so SNAP Ed and FNEP are both federal grants that focus on educating those that the healthy choice might be a harder choice for them, whether it be money or just not having the resources to get healthy food. And so our classes focus on teaching them how to cook healthy meals with what they might have on hand, and they're free for those that qualify for any type of federal assistance.
Okay.
And I'm a SNAP Ed assistant, so I get to help out Catherine. I get to teach adult nutrition classes, so really excited about doing that. And we have a class actually starting in ARMA next Tuesday.
Okay.
And we get to focus on, like what she said, using what's available and affordable.
Now, the class, it's Tuesday evening, but it's actually the first in a series of classes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, so there will be 6 classes in this series. So.
Okay. Are you required to attend all 6 of them, or?
Those who do attend all 6 of them get to receive a free kitchen appliance of their choice up to a $25 value. So it's a great opportunity to learn and to get something to use. So,
it's a nice incentive.
Yeah.
It's been very beneficial. We just taught this class at the Pittsburgh Salvation Army, and like we had people calling our office, can I come make up your class? Which they can. We encourage that. Like if they want to take ownership and come and get that lesson, absolutely. But they take note of what we use in all our classes. We do a hands-on cooking demonstration, and we pull volunteers from the class, and we try to always get someone different. And so they take note of what we're using in cooking, whether it's an electric skillet or a smoothie. They're like, I want that. At the end of the class, write it down. And so that's really it's a partnership with United Healthcare to offer that appliance. And so it's only available for this class that the Create Better Health series, which is what we're offering in ARMA.
What kind of foods are you guys going to be cooking with in these classes?
Variety. So we try to do a breakfast, a lunch, some snacks. And so our first class, we usually do a stir fry. And we travel with a mobile kitchen. And you can give people food, but what if they don't have tools to cook the food? And so we use an electric skillet. We always travel with a mobile kitchen so they can know it's doable for them, and when they leave our class, they'll have a tool if they come to all 6 of them that they can go home and make a healthy meal for themselves or their family.
That's awesome. Is there a cap on how many adult students can be in these classes?
Usually there's one educator, and so with one educator I like to say between 12 to 14, but if we have somebody, we won't turn them away. We just she'd ask me to come help her, which I will go do.
Yes.
So the more the merrier,
Yes.
but just as long as we have enough hands.
What about for those who are struggling with cooking on a budget?
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure this is something you're going to talk about in the class.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
what are some tips or some advice you can offer when you're going to the grocery store, you only have a set limit of what you can spend? What's the best way to go about shopping?
Make a list. So that is my number one thing is I ask somebody, do you make a list when you go to the store? Do you go to the store hungry? Because when you're at the store and you don't have a list and you're hungry, everything looks good, and you end up spending maybe double than what you would have spent. And so making a list, planning ahead of time what you want to have for the week, kind of looking, are you going to be anywhere that you're provided a meal so you don't buy over what you need, but also shopping in season, because there you're going to get some extra savings too.
I'm a big fan of coupons too.
Yes, coupons. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually in this class starting in ARMA, we're going to be using fresh produce out of the garden, so that's extremely affordable and what's available. So I'm excited about that.
ARMA has a community garden, and so
that's nice.
Yeah, we're able to use a lot of produce from that. They have a lot of zucchini right now.
Yes, and squash.
Yeah, different types of squash. So.
Well, and knowing what's in season, then you can watch the prices. If it's something that's in season, it's typically cheaper in the store too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so once again, let's, oh yes, real quickly though, you guys, after this class, you're going to be offering something at the Pittsburgh Public Library for kids.
Yes. So the Create Better Health is a SNAP Ed class, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Education Program. Long title. But we also do FNEP, which is basically the same thing, but it's for families and middle school age kids, caregivers of young children, expecting mothers. And so my other nutrition assistant, her name's Christina, she's offering a class for middle school age kids at the Pittsburgh Public Library, and it starts August 1st. And it is a series as well. So it starts the 1st, and we're offering 2 different times. One is going to be offered in English, and the other is offered in Spanish, so that we can offer it to all different middle school age kiddos, and they can come and feel comfortable and get the most out of the class. And so it is, again, a series, different times. It's on our Wildcat Extension website and Facebook page.
All right, that's awesome. And again, the Tuesday classes in ARMA, give us the details, when and where.
So every Tuesday, starting next Tuesday, July 19th, at the Armour Public Library. We'll have class there from 6 to 7, and we'll have every class following that on every Tuesday at 6. So.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming in. It was wonderful meeting you both this morning as
well.
well.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Topping Health Watch this morning, the pandemic has brought a significant increase in vision complaints, partly from spending more time than ever staring at screens. And some could find a solution in the new innovation in vision correction, implantable contact lenses. CBS's Danya Bacchus shows us how they work.
All right, let's take a look.
Powell Robinson has used corrective lenses since first grade. Now working as a cinematographer and director, his contacts had become a constant misery.
The inflammation from wearing them for super long hours was making my vision get a little blurry, my eyes would get super dry, and it was just getting sort of unsustainable.
To help correct his vision and ditch his contact lenses, his eye doctor suggested a procedure known as Evo Visian ICL.
The Evo ICL is a permanent implantable contact lens that's placed in the eye instead of a contact lens that you would wear on the surface of the eye where you have to constantly take out and put back in.
Dr. Netta Shammy is an ophthalmologist with the Maloney Shammy Vision Institute. She says the procedure is ideal for treating myopia, otherwise known as nearsightedness, and offers an alternative to LASIK surgery, which works by changing the anatomy of the eye.
The Evo Visian ICL procedure has been approved overseas for 10 years, with more than 1 million surgeries performed. Here in the United States, it was approved by the FDA in late March.
It hits the market just as eye complaints are soaring. Myopia is increasing so rapidly, an international study estimates half the global population could be nearsighted in the next 30 years.
This is the best you could see without your glasses and contact lenses prior to surgery.
The implants take just 8 to 10 minutes per eye, and the improvement is nearly immediate.
It's pretty weird to wake up in the morning and just see.
A new window on the world, which Robinson describes as life-changing. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The procedure costs between $2,500 and $5,000 per eye. Because it is an elective surgery, it is not generally covered by health insurance. U.S. is still experiencing about 350 COVID deaths a day. The latest CDC data shows about 5,100 COVID hospitalizations each day, a slight increase from last week, but doubling since early May. The CDC is urging Americans over 50 to get that second booster shot. Researchers in Canada say children whose same-sex parent has an anxiety disorder were more likely to have an anxiety disorder than offspring with an opposite-sex parent with an anxiety disorder. Researchers say that suggests a possible role of environmental factors in the transmission of anxiety from parents to children. And a new study links spirituality with better health outcomes and patient care, whether it's organized religion or other ways of finding meaning. Researchers at Harvard found for healthy people, participation in religious services is associated with healthier, longer lives and less depression and substance abuse. And for many patients, spirituality influences key outcomes in their illness, such as quality of life and medical care decisions. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Cool start to the morning is going to give way to warmer temperatures across the board. Upper 80s, lower 90s as we head into the afternoon under sunny skies before we cool back under clear skies into the lower 70s and upper 60s. Complete look at the forecast and more when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, a girl critically injured at a theme park passes away.
A quiet and cool start to the day today, going to give way to warmer temperatures. The complete forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And some Oklahoma schools start enforcing a new law but receive conflicting opinions from the public.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:32. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm Chris Warner. As I mentioned, it's a cool one out there. If you haven't stepped outside yet, it actually, it feels chilly compared to what we've seen the last, several days. So, unfortunately, we're also about 30 degrees off of where their temperatures are going to go.
I was going to say, it's not going to stay chilly for long, that's for sure.
No, so if you're an early riser, which is obvious because you've been watching us, then go outside for a minute during the next commercial break and enjoy this because it's not going to stick around. Temperatures are going to warm up quickly. Right now we are sitting in Joplin as the sun rises at 63 degrees. Most of us across the metro area sitting in the lower to mid 60s, and that's how the rest of the area looks as well. Today, it's going to warm up, 92 for an afternoon high under sunny skies. Overnight tonight, it's going to cool off again. Not as much, but lower 70s to upper 60s. And let me skip this one, go straight to that 7-day forecast because I know you want to know how the week ahead looks. Maybe you don't now that you see it. High's going to be pushing about 100 degrees by Saturday, but here's the thing, as the temperatures increase, so do some chances for a scattered storm or two, so something we'll keep an eye on. But otherwise, it's just the 7 days, a quick reminder that summer's not quite over yet. So don't let this morning fool you. It's going to get here again very quickly, back by this afternoon.
Yeah, I don't see anything pleasant on that forecast, to tell you the truth.
There's some rain chances. That's about really the only pleasant thing about it.
Rain chances and 100 degrees in the same day.
Woo!
What's it, raining heat?
It might be. It just might be.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a young girl who was critically injured in a pool at Oceans of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri, has died. According to a statement from the park's spokesperson, a lifeguard had responded to a young female guest in distress in the Coconut Cove pool. Lifeguard was able to pull her out of the water, and the park CMS workers administered CPR. The Kansas City Fire Department arrived to continue caring for her and take her to a local hospital. Law enforcement say the girl was younger than 10 years old. Smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. A local organization is making sure Pittsburgh residents are registered to vote ahead of next month's elections. Tuesday was the last day to register in Kansas, so the Women's Alliance for Voter Education was out at Root Coffee House, helping people register and update their information. An organizer says the proposed state constitutional amendment concerning abortion appears to be spurring a lot of voters to action.
I have seen a lot of passion on both sides. Very, very much passion. People's beliefs. Whatever your beliefs, I encourage you to vote, and we'll see how that goes.
Voters in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma will head to the polls August 2nd. Oklahoma schools have begun enforcing a new state law that puts restrictions on sports participation in public schools. KOAM's Bella Line has more on this story.
Oklahoma House Bill 4245 was first introduced by Republican representatives in January of 2022. The bill coincides with the Save Women's Sports Act. It is now law that biological sex affidavits are required to participate in sports for the upcoming activity season. When Governor Kevin Stint signed the bill in March, legislators that voted for the bill showed up to express their support.
I will always try to preserve and protect the rights of women and honor all of the things the women that our state have done before us so all of us can be here.
5 decades of Title IX is going to be very quickly undone if we allow just a few biological males to come in and start taking the medals and taking the ribbons.
As schools in Northeast Oklahoma have began announcing the requirement, many mixed opinions have stirred up.
Not only are they not accepted and safe at home, but they go to school and they're not safe or accepted there. And that just further shows that they're not accepted, that they are discriminated against. This entire bill goes against Title IX. Title IX was put in place and it does not allow sexual discrimination of any kind.
We're going to have to do this. We're going to abide by the law, but I do think it's just a little bit too much and it's overreach on behalf of our legislators.
In Oklahoma, I'm Bella Line, KOAM News.
Oklahoma schools have begun enforcing the new state law. Moving along.
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Today's today in history. John F. Kennedy, back in 1960, got nominated for the presidency. In Los Angeles, California, Senator John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts is nominated for the presidency by the Democratic Party convention. defeating Senator Lyndon B. Johnson of Texas. The next day, Johnson was named Kennedy's running mate by unanimous vote of the convention. Now, 4 months later, on November 8th, Kennedy won 49.7% of the popular vote in one of the closest presidential elections in U.S. history, surpassing by a fraction of the 49.6% received by Vice President Richard M. Nixon, a Republican. January 20th, 1961, on the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., John F. Kennedy was inaugurated as the 35th President of the United States. So I don't personally identify with one political party or another, but I've got favorite presidents, and John F. Kennedy was one of them. My mom actually bought me some different John F. Kennedy things, and I wish I could find it because, I mean, I was much younger. I had this plaque that actually had a portion of the speech he was set to deliver in Dallas when he was assassinated.
That's
and
really
I wish
cool.
I could track that down because it was very interesting.
Have you ever been to Dallas and to the scene and checked out
Unfortunately,
the museum and
no.
everything?
I haven't done a lot of traveling in my life.
You will have to go down there. It sounds like you're a fan, so that'd be definitely a bucket list item you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd certainly be interested in going down there. Something some folks may not be interested in, it's the forecast. It's going to get toasty. Quick look at the future track. We're pushing highs today into the lower 90s across the board, and the 7-day forecast doesn't show us any relief. Summer coming back with a bang and a vengeance, pushing 96 tomorrow, 98 Friday, and 100 by Saturday. The only good thing is as the temperatures increase, so do some slight thunderstorm chances. Of course, we'll keep an eye on those, but otherwise, it is July, it is summertime, and it's not going away anytime soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, Twitter goes to court over Elon Musk backing out of buying the company.
Plus, with modern technology comes a lot, including police being recorded when they pull someone over or make an arrest. Today, we want to know, should people have the right to record police activities? We're going to let you weigh in when we come back.
Consumer Watch this morning, Twitter is suing Elon Musk over a $44 billion corporate marriage he called off before they made it to the altar. The lawsuit seeks to force the Tesla CEO to go through with his planned takeover. In the suit, Twitter accuses Musk of outlandish and bad faith action. Twitter says Musk's change of heart caused the platform irreparable harm and wreaked havoc on its stock price. On Friday, Musk alleged that Twitter failed to provide sufficient information about the number of fake accounts on its platform. Investors in Bitcoin rode out another dip in the cryptocurrency's roller coaster ride. Bitcoin fell below the key $20,000 mark yesterday. The volatile crypto has lost more than 2/3 of its value since hitting a record of close to $69,000 last November. Peloton says it plans to stop making its own stationary exercise bikes and treadmills. It will outsource production to a Taiwanese manufacturer. Company is trying to re-energize sales that surged during the pandemic, but then cooled down as gyms reopened and more competition moved in. Peloton has said it wants to focus less on sales and more on its digital app, which can be used with other equipment. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for our Something to Talk About.
Yeah, Tanya, a federal judge affirms the right to record video of law enforcement, and we want to know what you think. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals that oversees Kansas and Oklahoma ruled it is well within our First Amendment right to record police officers while they're in the field working. This is in response to a 2019 case where a YouTube blogger claimed a Denver suburb police officer kept him from recording a traffic stop.
To me, a lot of those interactions where an officer is either blocking that or they make an arrest like that, a lot of times to me that's the officer not being educated on or trained on how to handle that situation. So, you know, the officers, if they're trained properly and they know, like I said, it's okay to record.
You can find more on the ruling on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And speaking of that website, we want to know what you think. Should people have the right to record police activity? An overwhelming 94% of you say yes. Only 6% of you say no. Don't forget you can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do it in the KOAM News Now app and participate in the discussion on our Facebook page. Now, let's check in with Gail to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King. Coming up, right up on CBS Mornings, David Begnow shares the untold story of a 102-year-old World War II vet who served bravely in an all-female, all-black segregated unit. What was that like back then? That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Accidentally. We take He fought in Vietnam with the Mobile Construction Battalion. During his service, he earned a Good Conduct Medal, a Vietnam Service Medal, and a National Defense Medal. Native of Purcell, Missouri, we thank you. Today's four-state hero, David Edwards.
Hey, it's time to celebrate birthdays, and we get to start these birthdays with a rare look of Spider-Man when he was a kid. This is Decker Vitt celebrating a birthday this morning, turning 3 in St. Paul.
Check out that form, throwing the web.
At 3 years old, Spider-Man knew what he had going on, obviously, and little did we know, Spider-Man was Decker Vitt in St. Paul.
All right, and Andy Johnson is 11 years old in Oswego.
Very happy birthday, Andy. And we've got Olivia No, old enough to drive now, turning 16 over in Carthage. A very happy birthday to Olivia.
All right, and then Phyllis King celebrating birthday number 71 in West Mineral.
We also have Robert Travis celebrating 71 as well. That's a good number. Over in Chanute, happy birthday to you, Robert.
I hope he has another cake just like that. Switch out the 0 for a 1. All right, and we've got John Bates. Happy birthday, Mr. Bates and Arma.
And then we've got Charles and Pat Burr, 49 years of marriage. A very, very happy anniversary to Charles and Pat Burr.
All right, and that is our birthday list for today. If you have a birthday, please submit them to us online at birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com, or you can email them to us at birthdays with an S. Don't forget the S at KOAMtv.com.
And while you're at our website, I have something you need to do. You need to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. And you can go to the website to do that. You get special deals from local businesses for your special day. Super easy to do. You know what you do? You go to our website. And if you forgot what it is, it's KOAMnewsnow.com. Make sure you sign up for the Birthday Club today. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we all remember that infamous Walmart poll. Yeah, that one in Pittsburgh. Well, it's had its own Facebook page and everything, and now it's got a new home. Join us over on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 for why it has a new home. Taking a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Take a look-see here. Nothing. Yesterday, you may remember, the Skywatch Storm Tracker was very, very busy. But today, not so much. As the sun continues to climb high into the sky, 63 in Joplin is where we're at. 63 is what it feels like. And we're all sitting in roughly the lower to mid 60s across the region as we start this beautiful Tuesday. It was actually kind of chilly when I stepped out the door this morning. English is not my friend sometimes. When I went outside, it was kind of chilly. It's not going to stay that way. We're still about 30 degrees off from our expected high. 86 by noon, 92 at 5, 86 at 8, under mostly sunny skies with a light northeast breeze. Calm winds tonight give way to more clear skies. Temperatures dropping to the lower 70s and upper 60s as we head overnight. Quick look at the future track. There's really not a lot to show. You saw maybe a cloud. Some clouds passing by southwest of us. Otherwise, it's going to stay clear. And as we head into Thursday, it's going to continue to warm up, starting the day, as we mentioned, in the upper 60s, lower 70s, before we start to creep back into the lower 90s, maybe even some upper 90s by Thursday afternoon. And of course, with those increasing temperatures mean heat index values are going to go up, pushing 100 for heat index values by tomorrow afternoon and again on Friday. And a quick check of the 7-day forecast shows the warming trend. So I know if you've been outside, if you went out and grabbed the morning paper, maybe went out just to get a breath of fresh air, you're thinking, man, I got to bundle up. I got to dress warm because it does feel so cold. Don't do that because it's not going to last, and then summer is going to go ahead and kick into gear. As we said, 96 on Thursday, 98 Friday, pushing 100 by Saturday. Temperatures drop a little bit by Sunday before they start to warm up again, and we do have some potentially increasing storm chances as we head into the weekend. Now, the nice thing is we're at a particular peak in the month where we're going to have pretty decent overnight lows. So your AC may be able to get a little bit of a break as we head into the overnight hours through the week, but you're going to have to crank that sucker by the afternoon because look at that, 100 degrees. Summer is here to stay, unfortunately, at least for the next little while. We'll have more on your forecast and more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Some Pittsburgh drivers may need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. On Tuesday, the city of Pittsburgh began its East Quincy Street reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will permanently close East Quincy from Franklin to Taylor Street. And traffic on East Quincy between Franklin Road and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. Smoke was visible for miles as a vacant building burned at the 1800 block of West 7th Street in Joplin on Tuesday. Firefighters responded to the blaze around 7 a.m. Officials say they had recently deemed the building as an unsecured, vacant, dilapidated structure. After clearing the fire, crews brought in a backhoe and brought the building down. No word yet on the cause of that fire. Some Oklahoma school districts have begun enforcing a new law that requires students to submit a biological sex affidavit to participate in school sports. In Northeast Oklahoma, schools are getting the word out to their communities, but have received some conflicting opinions from the public. And an influential political action committee that's helped elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation reveals state campaign finance rule violations. The Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. As part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledge accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Those came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or candidate committee, both state ethics rules violations. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Quick check of the forecast. A cool start to the morning. A lot of us starting in the lower to mid 60s. That's going to give way to a 30-degree warm-up as we progress through the day under sunny skies. Afternoon highs pushing the lower 90s under a light northeast breeze. And as we head into the night, temperatures going to drop off to the lower 70s and upper 60s for most of us. Just a quick reminder that summer is here and it's here to stay. So enjoy this break while we got it because it's going to be another hot one and another hot week.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making cucumber ranch bites in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Plus, when your KOAM morning news continues, that doesn't. Actually, CBS mornings continue. Yeah, you know what we're talking about. On CBS Mornings, Thailand's oldest elephant sanctuary is reopening to tourists. On CBS Mornings, you can meet the American volunteer who helped get it back up and running after being shuttered during the pandemic.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we meet a man who is 100 years old and loves to bowl.
Plus, we've got a lot of stuff coming up on the KOAM morning news on Fox 14, including a dino skeleton that's going up for sale. That's going to wrap us up for us, though, here on KOAM. Make sure you switch over to Fox.
That's right. And we're going to do it again today at noon.